this square, and we want to sew them together so that the square fits into the L. So normally we sew with right sides together. So if this is the right side of this, then I would have to start sewing like this, right? And then this already attached, this has to somehow pivot around to the other side. So the trick is, there's a little punch hole there. And so the trick is to clip up to that punch hole. And actually I have to see something first. I want to do this with 1/2 inch seam allowances, and I just want to make sure that this is really where I want it, because the punch hole looks really deep to me. So what I'm doing is I'm putting my ruler up against the edge. Actually, I like this side of my ruler better. And so it looks like my punch hole should be right there. So it looks like mine is out a little further than it should be. So I'm going to do one thing. First I'm going to reinforce it. I don't know if your book says to do this or not, but it's a good idea. So just right where I need to clip into this corner, I'm going to weaken it by cutting into it. So just to be safe, I'm going to do what's called a stay stitch. And again, this is something that I don't want to show after I sew, but if it does, I can just rip it out. But what it's going to do is just, I'm going to clip here and then I'm going to stretch it apart, and I could rip it. So this stay stitch should help give it a little strength. So it's about 1/2 inch seam allowance, and it's just a regular stitch because we want the stitches to be small to give it the strength in that weak corner. And I'll just sew, I don't know, a little bit. I'll get kind of close to it. It doesn't have to be the whole way, it's just in the corner where it needs reinforcing. So right about there. Let's see, how does that look? Yeah, that looks okay. Maybe one more stitch. Or 1/2 stitch. That looks good. So again, it's just a regular stitch, and it's just to reinforce the corner, or whatever. It doesn't have to be a corner, it could be anything. Bless you. Bless you, yeah. So, I'll clip those so it's easy to see what I did. So I just put a little stay stitch in the corner, and then I'll go ahead and clip up to my stay stitch. Hopefully that's enough. I might have to clip through it, but we'll start with that. And then, like I said, I'd put it right sides together. This has a notch in it. Let's see, does that match up? Yeah. So there's a notch in my square, right there. And there's a notch in the L, and those are supposed to match each other. So I'll line those up to each other. And then, actually, I think I'm going to start from the other side. I like looking at it this way. Because, again, that corner is my problem that I need to solve. And this one doesn't have a notch in it. So that goes to there. So I want to sew with my L shape facing me. I need 1/2 inch seam allowance on this inside of the L. So I'm going to take my square and my L. Actually, that's backwards. There we go. It's hard without the right side, with both of these having the same look on both sides, so I can't tell right and wrong side. So here's my square, here's my L. They should be right sides facing each other, but we have no right side. There's a little notch right here in both the square and the L to help me align it. And again, I want my 1/2 inch seam allowance along here, and I've clipped only through the L towards the punch hole. And first I measured my 1/2 inch seam allowance to make sure that, because like I said, my punch hole looks like it's in the wrong spot. And after I sew, if it ends up that it really is in the wrong spot, I'm going to massage it and close my punch hole. So 1/2 inch seam allowance, regular stitch, back stitch where you start and stop. And I have the L on top because that's going to be my fly in the ointment. And now this is covering up my throat plate, right? So I can't really tell where 1/2 inch is. So it looks like I need one more stitch. And then what I'm going to do is, ready for this? The needle is down, the presser foot is up. I'm going to pull this edge of my square to match this edge of my L, which means that my square gets pivoted and my L gets stretched out. So you see that happening? And I'm moving this wrinkle out of the way. And it looks like, because it's shy here, it looks like I need another stitch, I think. Let me see. Oh no, I think I did make that work. So I want to get that wrinkle out of there. Yeah, it looks like I need a little bit more clipping. So I'm pulling the edges of my L to match my square, moving that wrinkle out of the way. Looks like I need one more. I thought I didn't need one more stitch, but it looks like I do. One more. There we go. See, so my punch hole was too far away. So then I'll press that flat and I'll massage that punch hole and see if I can get it to disappear. Usually I can get it pretty gone with the iron. So that should be 1/2 inch seam allowance and that should be 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then where I made that clip, it just turns into like a diagonal. It looks like it was cut not like an L actually, because it has to spread apart in order to make its way around the corner of that. So what we're looking for there is a nice sharp corner with no puckers. And so you saw how I was kind of moving that fold of the L out of the way. And I was looking at my needle to make sure that the next stitch it was going to take wasn't going to be through a fold of fabric. So it takes a little massaging, and you have to make sure that you're right on, like that clip comes right up to your needle but not past it. Because if it's past it, you'll get a hole there. And that's not what we want. So that's the trick to that. And then sometimes, I don't know, if it comes out beautifully, sometimes what we have people do after they press it, so I haven't pressed mine yet, but sometimes what we have people do is come back in, two things. One is you can 3-thread overlock that, and then 3-thread overlock that, closed seam, and then press that, and then you can come in, and on the side where all the seam allowance is, which is on the L side, you can come in and do a little edge stitch around that L shape on the square. Oh, it's really pretty. You don't have to do the edge stitch, but I'm going to press mine, and then I was going to edge stitch it, but maybe I should leave it so that you guys can flip it around. Once I stitch it, then you can't do that. So let's go ahead and cut that. And then